As promised, we're joined by Paul LaMonica from CNN Business, and we're talking a little bit about Chevron today. Paul, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
We're doing well here, and Chevron is doing well. The stock isn't doing great today, but overall last year they had just a monster year with $35.5 billion in profit. What else did they announce during their earnings release and around that release?
Yeah. What's interesting is that oil prices have obviously, they've been volatile, but they were up last year, and that led to that huge annual record profit for the company. But what is going on behind that that's raising some controversy is that Chevron also recently announced a huge $75 billion share buyback plan and an increased dividend. And that's something that's good news for investors in the stock, because obviously a higher dividend means more cash coming to you, and the stock buyback, in theory, should increase earnings per share because it reduces the share count. But it's raising a lot of controversy in Washington. An assistant press secretary at the White House tweeted that this is an odd way to show if the company is, quote unquote, working hard to increase oil production. I think the White House and many other politicians would rather see Chevron, if not, increase pay for workers, at least pump more money into more production so that oil prices and gas prices can come down.
So if I'm running Chevron, I think back to 2013, 2014, where I did decide to increase production significantly. And then I got hit by a buzzsaw when OPEC, and really OPEC Plus led by Russia, decided to pump a whole lot more oil themselves and torpedoed oil prices, and I lost a bunch of money, and it was basically a lost decade for me as a company. Why would I want to subject myself to that again without any assistance if things go belly up?
No, it's a great point, and this is what I think makes it a difficult bit of a conundrum. Should a company like Chevron be really punished for rewarding investors when times are good? Maybe not. But I think the bigger issue, as you point out, is that when this is a very volatile cyclical business, and there are going to be downtimes and upswings. The calls for windfall profit taxes obviously only happen when there are windfall profits. You don't see many people in Washington saying that we should bail out big oil companies. And obviously, I'm not suggesting that they need massive government assistance by any stretch of the imagination, but it does kind of need to cut both ways. If you're going to tax a company when times are good and complain about excessive profits, then you need to lend support when things are bad. Again, all that being said, sympathy for Chevron when you consider that they're making this huge annual profit and that they're deciding that a stock buyback and dividend increase makes more sense than aggressively ramping up production even more. I mean, they did spend more than 40% higher on cap spending and exploration in 2022, but you could argue that when you're flush right now, spend even more. It's a great investment in the future.
With a divided government in place right now in the United States, it would seem unlikely to me that any kind of windfall tax provision on energy companies would go into effect. Do you feel similarly at this point?
Yeah, I mean, not sure, though. I think that one thing that does seem interesting is that there does seem to be a bit of bipartisan support on both sides, the aisle for people in Washington to try and go after an easy target, which are big corporations. So that could be energy companies like Chevron. It could be big tech firms like we're seeing with the potential antitrust actions taken against Google owner Alphabet. It does seem like it's an easy political win if you're a Democrat or a Republican to beat up on a quote unquote big bad, giant of industry in America. And some of it is fair, I think, but some of it's misplaced. We obviously have a culture where we want to celebrate success, but don't get too successful because then you need to be reined in.
Very good. Paul, appreciate the time today. Thank you so much, and have a great weekend.